What's up everybody, Mystically's here. Want to know the most iconic year in gaming and why? Stick around and find out. For today's video, we're starting a brand new mini-series called The Best Year in Gaming. And on episode 1, we'll be looking at releases. What year of all time had the most iconic releases all in one year? I want to look at 1985 all the way to present. And I feel like the year 2000 had the most iconic games released all in one year. 15 titles that got picked out. It's all based off my own personal research and comparison to Metacritic. So stick around, we go through all 15 titles and see why and what made the year 2000 the most iconic year in gaming.
Starting this list off with a sports title, and for good reason. NFL 2K1 in 2000 would receive worldwide acclaim for its extremely realistic gameplay for the time, local 4-player support, and online features, including updated rosters. And it would go on to win many awards, including Dreamcast Game of the Year, Multiplayer Game of the Year, Sports Game of the Year, Electronic Gaming Monthly Gamers' Choice Awards 2000, and even at GameSpot's Worst and Best of 2000 awards, it was said that staff argued for over an hour what would take the Game of the Year award between NFL 2K1 and Chrono Cross. So, pretty much makes this a no-brainer for iconic games released in the year 2000. Next up on the list, we're going to be taking a look at Diablo 2 for PC. This came out mid-year, and it's a hack-and-slash action-adventure by Blizzard, and this is a big hit in the online community, and I was a big part of that community for a long time. And what a great time it was being able to hook up with your friends after school, after work, getting your clans, hop around, taking down all the bosses, doing boss runs, bail runs over and over. I'm telling you, it really made for an awesome time, and we didn't know what we had when it was happening. So receiving a 90 from PC Gamer at the time of release, and a 91 from Metacritic to date, as well as an HD remaster years later, made this an obvious entry for most iconic games of the year 2000. And as a title that's easily revisited today. In 1999, EA revealed that SSX had been developed with the Sega Dreamcast in mind, but once the final decision had came down from EA that the console would not be supported, it was swiftly moved over to the PlayStation 2. SSX is a downhill racing arcade-style snowboard game that is overflowing with its own originality and style. And while having many different entries in the series franchise over the years, it's also landed home on 11 different consoles over the years, thus making it one of the most iconic entries to the year 2000. So next up, we're looking at The Sims PC. When The Sims was originally pitched to Maxis board of directors by game designer Will Wright, it was turned down, and luckily, by 97, Maxis was acquired by Electronic Arts, and after having success with SimCity, they decided to look at it again, and thank God they did. This became a super popular franchise, selling over 6 million units by 2002, spurring 4 different entries to the mainline series and countless different expansion packs and DLCs. The Sims is probably one of the most iconic series on PC. Grandia 2 is a traditional JRPG with an advanced battle system for the time, including maneuverability across the field, a weight bar, and an advanced combo system that led to all kinds of fun combos between the different characters. And while I might be kind of biased because Grandia is one of my favorite JRPG franchises, I believe it fits all the criteria for being one of the most iconic releases for the year 2000. Spurring a sequel after this one, and being ported to the PlayStation 2 and also the Switch in modern times, shows that there's a deep cultural following for it. and I believe that it can definitely still be enjoyed to this day.
So as you can already see, the year 2000 game releases was a super special year. That's why I wanted to make this video, because if you go on the internet and look at different critic comparisons and ratings for over the years, they may not do them all exactly justice. And I feel like if they're still around and receiving ports and receiving chatter this long after, they should be considered iconic. And that's why I wanted to highlight them all right here. Let's get right back to it.
So Jet Grind Radio was developed by a Sega team called Smiley Bit, which was formerly Team Andromeda, who developed the iconic Panzer Dragoon. So right from the get-go, Jet Grind Radio was destined for greatness. And with its beautiful cel-shaded graphics, poppin' music, and unique gameplay style, it found itself on many different consoles over the years and gained a huge cultural following. And Sega's even going to be making a new one just announced here in the future. Crono Cross is a masterpiece of a JRPG developed by Square Enix with a very unique party system allowing for over 40 different customizable characters throughout the game, all wielding their own unique weapons. So it should be no surprise to anyone why this made it to the list of one of the most iconic games released in the year 2000. Beyond receiving a release for the PlayStation Greatest Hits, it also received many different ports later for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And at the time of release, it received many awards, including a Perfect 10 review from GameSpot, which is something held by 16 out of 40,000 games reviewed. And is a must-play for fans of the genre. And Squaresoft would deliver another monumental title this year, Final Fantasy IX, selling over 2.5 million copies in Japan alone, receiving a greatest hits release later on in life, and multiple modern releases today. There's not much that can't be said about Final Fantasy IX. At the time, graphically, it was beyond anything we thought could have been done on the PlayStation 1. It received much praise for its balanced gameplay and combat system, and simple learning curve in inviting new players to the franchise. And is still a title that is held with very high regard to this day, thus making it one of the most iconic games of the year 2000. So this one might be debatable, but I'm putting it on the list anyway. Skies of Arcadia is an amazingly unique turn-based RPG published by Sega, developed in-house by Team Overworks. Even though this game would receive great praise by all reviewers at the time of release, even receiving nominee runner-up for the best turn-based RPG of the year, losing to Crono Cross, respectively. And although it would receive a port to the GameCube 3 years later, the overall expected profit margins was well below what Sega needed to continue the franchise on. So despite this game having low sales, only one entry into the franchise and only one port, it has gained a huge cultural and fan following, thus, in my opinion, landing on one of the most iconic games of the year 2000.
Capcom presents.
And in the year 2000, the hits just kept on coming. Next, we're taking a look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. This was developed by Capcom for the Sega Naomi arcade board, then later on brought to the Dreamcast, brought out in the year 2000. This was awesome. If you're talking about fighters, you're talking about the Versus series, and you're talking about Marvel vs. Capcom. This is the fighter to have. Whether you're playing it on emulation, you're playing it on original hardware, I don't care how you play it, you need to play this game if you like fighters. This game is art in motion. And while having only moderate sales at the time of release, it remains an iconic game and an easy choice for this list. And next up on the list, we're going to be taking a look at Perfect Dark. And you may notice there's a few games on this list that, even though they received very well, they have tons of rewards from all manner of different reviewers, they didn't sell very well, and Perfect Dark is part of that list. This game is an amazing first-person shooter on the Nintendo 64 that would only receive one port later to the Xbox 360 arcade downloaded surface. It's the ever-growing community of fans that constantly support and bring up this title that makes it iconic. And there's going to be a Switch port to the online expansion pack here soon, I'm sure. But even if there's not, this game will continue to be talked about for many years to come for its cutting-edge graphics, storyline, gameplay, and awesome multiplayer options for the time. A personal favorite, Resident Evil Code Veronica. I remember playing this game at the time of release, and I was blown away by the newly acquired 3D graphics throughout the whole game. But, moving right along, worldwide reception of this game was okay. It had 1.5 million sales worldwide, and that's kind of low compared to the predecessors in the franchise, but that's a great release for the Sega Dreamcast. And it would receive ports later on to the PS2 and GameCube. Also bringing home the Best Adventure Game award of 2000 from GameSpot, it was also a runner-up for many different categories. Those combined with the fan following for this title makes it an easy choice for this list. The reasons this title deserves to be on the list are numerous, from the fact that it would go on to win Game of the Year 2000 GameSpot, but also from the fact that it was developed for 5 different consoles simultaneously in a short time frame. Very unique for the time. It also holds the title of the best highest rated PlayStation game of all time. Also right behind runner-up of the best rated game of all time, to Ocarina of Time, respectively. Throughout the title's lifespan, it would find home on over 12 different consoles, including getting an HD remaster pack. And here we come to the end of our list with what I'm saying is the most iconic game released in the year 2000, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And this game didn't have some of the advantages as some of the other titles did on this list, such as being a brand new IP releasing for the first time. Zelda had released many great titles such as The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time. So this game was truly standing on the shoulders of giants. And Ocarina of Time had 5 years of development leading up to its release. Majora's Mask only had 1. and there was a lot of expectations riding on that. And they delivered big. An initial reception of the game was great, selling over 3.36 million units the first year of release worldwide, and received many nominations and awards over the course of its lifetime, as well as get a port to the GameCube and a remaster for the 3DS. But the cultural backing to this exact entry in the franchise is unreal. I've seen so much stuff Majora's Mask over the years. Cosplay, custom stained glass windows in people's game rooms, tattoos, so many tattoos. It goes on and on. The stuff people have done, interesting ways people have implemented Majora's Mask into their game room and life. And you don't see that very often when a single entry to a title or even a one-off IP title gains so much momentum and clout over the years. And that's why I felt making a list of the most iconic games released in the year 2000 was imperative to do. So let me know in the comments, do you agree with this list? Would Majora's Mask be your number one? If not, what would be yours?
So thanks for coming along. We checked out the year 2000, the most iconic year in gaming releases so far. And this is going to be a mini-series I continue into the future, so a lot of different ways you can go with that. Best year in gaming releases, best year in gaming RPGs, best year in gaming controllers. Let me know in the comment section below what type of topics you'd like to see me cover in the best year in gaming on this channel. So until next time, I'm Mr. Cleves. Stay safe out there.